the top stories, police investigating double homicide. Opposition in Barbados calls for referendum on Republican status, and Bhutan gets 90% of adults vaccinated in 1 week. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Wednesday, the 28th of July, 2021. I'm Jason Davis. Nationally, the police are investigating the circumstances surrounding a shooting incident in Newtown that led to a double homicide on Tuesday night, sometime around 9 p.m. The victims, Kyle Williams and Akeem Paris of Carty Alley, Newtown, were shot at by masked assailants, according to police. ZIZ understands that Williams died at the scene while Paris was taken to the JNF General Hospital, where he later died of his injuries. We'll have more information as it becomes available as investigations are underway. Prime Minister Dr. The Honorable Timothy Harris has revealed that 2,209 applications were received by the Ministry of Finance for relief support through the government's income support program. He was speaking on the Leadership Matters program on Tuesday.
During these difficult times, we will continue to look after those in need. Tonight, I am pleased to report that the second stimulus package is being rolled out nicely. As of yesterday, 2,209 applications for income support have been received by the Ministry of Finance and are now being processed.
Under this initiative, persons who have remained unemployed since March of 2020 as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic will be provided $1,000 per month for 3 months. This was introduced by Prime Minister Harris earlier this month, along with a slate of other measures as part of the government's second stimulus package designed to bring much-needed relief to persons still affected by the pandemic. The stimulus measures also included a fuel subsidy of $400 per month to passenger bus operators for 3 months and a stipend for households with children living with disabilities. Prime Minister Harris said, quote, "By Friday, we will begin to disperse the first set of $1,000 income support. Fuel support payments will start on Friday, as well as will the support to households with persons living with disabilities," end quote. The Prime Minister further advised that not all applications will be processed by Friday, but his government will work to ensure that every application is processed until, quote, "every qualified person is paid," end quote. Disaster preparedness will be the topic of discussion on the next edition of the ZIZ radio and TV program Working for You later today. The panel will include Major Coyote Sutton of the Search, Rescue and Initial Clearance Subcommittee and Planning Officer of at the National Emergency Management Agency, Ulrika Lennon Petty. The show will be hosted by Director General of the St. Kitts and Nevis Information Service, Lesroy Williams. Working for You is aired every Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. on ZIZ Radio and other participating radio stations. It's also streamed live on the St. Kitts and Nevis Information Service YouTube channel and Facebook page. We now move to news on the regional scene. As Barbados continues its move towards becoming a Republican state by the end of 2021, Prime Minister Mia Mottley has announced that it will do so by November 30, the island's Independence Day. The opposition Democratic Labour Party is, however, calling for a referendum on the matter. Barbados Today with this report.
The Democratic Labour Party has urged the government to refrain from rushing into republicanism at this time and allow a referendum on the matter. On Monday, Prime Minister Mia Mottley told a public event marking the National Day of Significance that Barbados will become a parliamentary republic on November 30th and that the Republican form of government would see the election of a non-executive president. However, DLP President Vrila de Pisa described as disrespectful government's decision to settle on the Republican status and name a date for the changeover without engaging the views of the population.
The Democratic Labour Party insists that this matter needs to be ventilated in the public domain. The government is going down a rocky road. Our people need to be allowed to determine their own future. Anything else is not democracy. It is disrespectful to come to Barbadians and speak to a report, the Ford Commission report, from more than a generation ago and behave as though the present generations have no voice in their own destiny. Any major constitutional change should insist that our people are engaged at every level, and this government promised to come to the people in June and September. It never happened. Ms. Motley, you have to revisit the relationship between the people and the government on this matter.
In St. Lucia, Micoud South candidate for the St. Lucia Labour Party, Gibeon Ferdinand, has called for an investigation after a presiding officer was reportedly found with a ballot box in his car. Ferdinand lost his bid for the Micoud South seat to the incumbent Alan Chastanet at the 2021 general election. More in this report.
Did a presiding officer allegedly attempt to make away with a ballot box in Deriso? This is one of the lingering questions on the mind of the SLP candidate for Micoud South, Gibeon Ferdinand. Ex-Prime Minister Alan Chastanet was re-elected Micoud South MP at the July 26 elections. But there are allegations surrounding the mishandling of ballot boxes by a presiding officer at a polling station on election day. Police officers were reportedly notified by agents that the official was attempting to leave the polling station with ballot boxes in tow, a clear violation of election day law.
They asked us to monitor everything that was going on. So our box wasn't sealed, but the paper was signed. And then the presiding officer, I don't know what was going on with what was his plan or what he really wanted to do, but it wasn't acceptable and we did not accept it.
SLP Micoud South candidate Gibeon Ferdinand is awaiting the outcome of a recount of the ballots.
The presiding officer and some other members of the electoral department who were the persons who were part of the electoral process. They were escorted from the polling division, and thereafter my supporters by then had gathered around the Deriso school and protesting and shouting thief and so on. But the allegation is that one of the ballot boxes in M3B, the Deriso Combined School, was in the vehicle of a presiding officer.
Ferdinand has since consulted his attorneys over the alleged contravention.
There's been some discrepancies in the area in terms of issues of allegations of missing boxes, misplaced boxes, boxes found in some vehicles. And so, as one of the lawyers responsible for the area, I'm here with Senator Gibeon Ferdinand just to assist him in verifying if everything went well.
Alan Chastanet recorded 2,303 votes, while Gibeon received 1,656 votes. Some observers argue that despite the alleged contravention, the retabulation of the ballots is unlikely to result in a different outcome, given that the ex-Prime Minister was ahead by over 600 votes. Gina Filippi, HCS News Force.
Internationally, the remote Himalayan kingdom of Bhutan has carried out what may be the world's fastest vaccination campaign, completing the inoculation of 90% of its adult population against COVID-19 in just 1 week. Al Jazeera's Andrew Chappell reports.
While waiting for deliveries of the vaccine to arrive, Bhutan was building an army. 22,000 volunteers called DESIPs, who raised awareness, carried out screenings, and quickly adapted to the process of cold chain storage.
As a frontliner, I think it's my responsibility to be vaccinated, and also because His Majesty has done so much for us, so we feel it is our responsibility as a citizen.
When it was time to give everyone their second shots, the DESIPs got to work, and the results were astounding.
Vaccinations began on the 20th, and people have cooperated. A lot of people turned up on day 1, day 2, day 3, and by day 4, we had achieved our target.
In just 7 days, Bhutan administered nearly 500,000 shots and fully vaccinated 90% of its adult population. For older people and others unable to walk to vaccination sites, health officials went door to door.
I think we will be able to prevent the transmission of the COVID-19, which is our main goal, and probably we expect that herd immunity would be established in the country, and now country can open slowly.
King Jigme Gesar Nahjel Wangchuk has spent the last year hiking to remote villages, at times joined by Prime Minister Lothai Sring, who's a medical doctor.
And if there's anything that I hope the world can learn is that a country like Bhutan, with very few doctors, very few nurses, but a really committed king and leadership in the government, mobilizing society, it's not impossible to vaccinate the whole country.
Bhutan is encouraging people to mix and match vaccines. The first round of its national rollout was donated by India. The U.S. chipped in 500,000 doses of Moderna for the second.
I think the officials might have researched on this, and without research they might not have decided to do mix and match. So I trust them, so that's why I decided to take the Moderna vaccine.
It may be small, but the tiny kingdom has provided a lesson in how to tackle a common problem at a faster pace than elsewhere. Andrew Chappelle, Al Jazeera.
U.S. President Joe Biden said on Tuesday his administration is considering whether to require U.S. federal employees to be vaccinated against COVID-19. More in this Reuters report.
Will you require all federal employees to get vaccinated?
That's under consideration right now.
U.S. President Joe Biden on Tuesday said his administration is considering a COVID vaccine requirement for all federal workers. Such a move would be a major new step as the White House intensifies efforts to vaccinate tens of millions of Americans who still haven't had their shots.
And then only one thing we know for sure. If those other 100 million people got vaccinated, we'd be in a very different world. So get vaccinated. If you haven't, you're not nearly as smart as I said you were. Thank you.
The U.S. federal government is the country's largest employer. Biden's remarks at the Office of the Director of National Intelligence came as his administration's health experts advised fully vaccinated Americans to start wearing masks again in some circumstances due to the virus's fast-spreading Delta variant, and could signal a new, more aggressive phase in the campaign to vaccinate more Americans. On Monday, the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs mandated that its doctors and other medical staff get COVID-19 vaccines, making it the first federal agency to do so. And in New York, Mayor Bill de Blasio said he will require the city's more than 300,000 employees to get vaccinated by September 13th or get tested weekly.
This means everybody. This means, obviously, everyone who works in our schools, our educators and staff. It means the NYPD, the FDNY. It means all city agencies. It means people who work in offices and people who work on the front line.
That model was also adopted by California Governor Gavin Newsom, who said all state employees, nearly 250,000 of them, would be ordered to get vaccinated or undergo weekly testing. More will be coming this week from the White House, which said in a statement the president will offer his plan for next steps on Thursday.
And now for the weather. Present weather shows fair skies with showers in the vicinity. Winds are moderate, breeze of 13 miles per hour from the east. The temperature is 31 degrees Celsius or 87 degrees Fahrenheit. Seas are moderate with waves of 3 to 5 feet. The weather for today will be partly sunny with a 40% or moderate chance of showers and partly cloudy with a 40% or moderate chance of showers tonight. Sunset today will be at 6:45 p.m., sunrise tomorrow at 5:50 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Jason Davis.